all those works, all those possibilities, you know. And I was like, oh, that would be awesome if we could make this together and this together, you know, like if I was a newborn and I didn't understand anything of, you know, the mentality there. And they looked at me and be like, Delphine, this is not how it works here. I'm like, okay, bye-bye. Hello, California.
Right.
Voilà, that's my story.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Waiting to Dry, the most mature art podcast around.
The worst.
My name is Sergio Lopez.
I'm Josh Lawyer.
And we have Delphyne V. I'm just going to say V until I know how to pronounce your name.
No, that's the way to do it.
All right.
So how do you pronounce it correctly?
Just say V, you know.
Okay.
No, I can say it in French, you know, with French accent. It's Vera Durbé, but you don't want to say it.
That's a French-ass name!
Oh, really?
All right, let me go ahead and give that a try, Sergio. Was it Viadjobe?
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough?
Yeah, it's gonna be, that's perfect.
Close enough.
You know, like even French people don't get it, so don't.
Really?
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
It's a complicated name in France?
Yeah, kind of. And that's why I came out with a V only, not because of victory or vendetta or whatever, but more likely because this is more easy for everybody and also for gallery owners, you know, when they want to just put a cartel in place and or quote you on their website at least. They got it.
Yeah.
They can figure it out very easily.
Yeah.
And if you guys couldn't figure out, you are from... I was going to try to think of a funny answer like Russia.
I'm from a country we eat croissant, fromage, and you also heard about it lately.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm from Paris. Born and raised and living back in Paris since 2 years now.
Yeah, I met you a couple of years ago.
More than that.
Yeah.
More than that, yeah.
I don't know how long ago. It's all a blur.
I would say like probably 4 years ago or something.
Yeah, that sounds probably right.
Yeah. Like 2 years before I leave or something.
Yeah, and the San Francisco art hubbubs.
Did you guys meet through Wonderland?
Yeah, maybe.
I think so, and common friends like Monty.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But I think the first time I saw your work was in Wonderland.
Okay.
Definitely. Oh, no, you know what? That's not true. That was at Lunarian.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, both. I showed decent amount at, I think. I don't know. I have no idea. I always am in Wonderland. I feel like that's like my second home. But yeah, Lunarian, I show with them a decent amount. But yeah, we met somewhere, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. The art community in San Francisco is so like small, you know. So if you don't know someone and you see them more than like 3 times, you're like, oh.
That's my homie.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, it's like a big family, and it's very easy to navigate around people very fast and to meet everybody like all at once. That was very fast on my side years and years ago. So yeah, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah, I really love that dynamic. Really.
Yeah, it's a compact little city.
Yeah,
they jam everyone in this little tiny 10 by 10.
Yeah, and that's funny because, you know, you say little, but compared to Paris, it's just tiny bit bigger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But with a half of inhabitants. So it's like everybody knows each other like a village here.
Right.
Where in Paris, you can have your anonymous life, and it's pretty rare when you're going to run on somebody that you know already. This is kind of interesting because geographically this is not that big, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's probably what, from my point of view, what happened with the city here in San Francisco is that those communities, you know, popped out everywhere, and people are more tight, I would feel like, you know, versus a city where it's just way too much people and you can't really create links. Like,
yeah. I remember Monty telling me that the showers, I would feel like I was in a shoebox, me personally. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's scary.
It is.
But yeah, what brought you here to San Francisco?
Ooh, so just as I was telling you, like I'm celebrating my 10 years love affair with San Francisco because I first came here in California in 2009 and I just was pure tourist, I started in LA and just, like traveled up the coast and ended up in San Francisco that I completely fell in love with. Like I just stayed 1 week back then and at the end of the week I could navigate everywhere. I could tell to tourists where to go. That was just, I ate the city, I was like, this is home. That was super weird.
Yeah.
And what was weird is that when I came back to Paris after those vacations, my people felt like something happened too. And they're like, oh, we are losing her.
Oh, really?
And then I came back in 2011 because I had some friends that I was coming back and forth to his place. And this is, he's an artist and introduced me a lot to San Francisco artists too. And I've been brought up to this community that way, and then came back and forth for many years. And I ended up staying here. Like, all in all, I lived 3 years here. Yeah.
That's a good chunk of time.
Yeah. Spread on, 8 years. And then came back last year and it's time again.
For sure. Yeah, 3 years that's a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
And a good time period to be in San Francisco, especially. Those kind of like, I don't know, before the last 5 years, I say, maybe 5 years ago and earlier, San Francisco was this great place. I mean, it still is. There's still great parts of it. I still love parts of San Francisco, but it's definitely a different place.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that's insane. And that's funny because since I left, as I just said, I came back once last year and once now. And that's insane how everything changed so fast.
I know.
That's even more brutal, when you step out and come back. It's just, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird when there's like a place that you've known for years and it kind of feels like a staple to the community. And then that's now like a place that serves like high-end cheese or something like that. I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't think that place was going to be victim.
What do you have against high-end cheese?
Yeah, sorry. Apologies.
Choose your words wisely, Josh.
Well, in France, that's just cheese. It's not even high-end. We've just been eating peasant cheese our entire life.
American cheese,
yeah. So now you're back in France, but did that feel like it changed living here for 3 years and then going back? Does France, did it change dramatically at all within that time?
I didn't feel like it.
No?
No. I mean, Paris is changing, like everything, change is the only constant in this world, and we have to go with it,
For sure.
But it's way slower than in San Francisco. There is the gentrification, of course. That's a part of it, but it's way slower. And regarding the art scene, it's mutating a little. Things have to change because it has been stuck with street art for about 10 years now. Like everything is all about street art, and maybe you've heard about it from John and
like Space Invader and those guys, right?
Yeah, exactly, but others too. And it just, I think that now they are running out of I don't know, like breathing with this scene,
It's kind of run its course a little bit.
Yeah. So between either galleries being more oriented to street art or abstract art, we can see a little change coming, like more figurative art is entering in the scene again, step by step. And once again, it's slow.
Right,
sure.
But that's good, and that's gonna be good for me as well.
For sure.
My work is so figurative that it didn't have its place in France.
Yeah.
And that was more US oriented, of course.
Right.
But I have good feelings that at some point I could reintroduce my work in France.
For sure. Yeah, that is interesting. Because I was thinking about it, leading up to this interview about your work specifically, and thinking that you have such a unique style of your own. Like I feel like I can just see a piece done by you and go like, oh, Delphine's work. Like it's that like recognizable. But when that happens, I feel like you have to like go through like the waves of maybe people not being the hip cool look, you know. It's like, and then like for me it's like, I hope, like me personally, I'm like, oh, I hope my art becomes something that can get more popular success, right? That being the hope of, I feel like, of most artists, but you have no control over that. So when I see someone like you who has such a, like, you know, your art is very dark and stylized and moody, where it's like you have to outlive, you, like, for instance, like the street art thing being the hip thing. It's like you have to fall into kind of the fingers crossed, hope this becomes the cool thing, or just, I don't know, curate people
just
around you.
Go with it,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
You know, this is either you know, it's about integrity again. You know, again and again we fall on this. It's just what I want to do with my art, with my creativity, with my personality, with my purpose, with my values, with my belief, and blah blah blah. And I'm not gonna
was
put
blah
my
blah blah French for something.
Etc. I will never put my pens down to try to match a fashion regarding my creativity, and I prefer to not sell or to sell to a small niche than to hope to be a celebrity for what it is trendy right now. And that's also I would say the purpose of my work itself is that it's not for everybody, and it's okay with me. And people who purchase my work are not everybody either, and this is the people that I want to work with anyway. So it's
for
perfect.
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I always wonder, you know, like when you see something change and something else becomes the cool thing, I always wonder how the artist feels that was always doing that work, you know, because you see people migrate to different styles based on what's cool and what's in. But how does it, if you're, you know, like kind of your style became the mainstream, would that change? And people migrated.
I would be pissed. I would be super pissed.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I wonder if it's almost an advantage these days to be more and more of a niche, like, because art is a niche in general, just to the average person anyway. So to go from further and further down, your audience gets smaller and smaller, but that audience that is into your work just gets, like, they connect with it that much more as your audience shrinks. Hopefully that audience is more hardcore about your work, though.
And has a lot of money.
Right. This is always back to the question of why we do what we do, you know. And to attract the people that I attract with my work is kind of a hidden and deep language and connection with them. And I don't want that to change at all. This is precious to me, really.
Yeah. So you find that a lot, that the people that love your work and connect to it, you find this kind of common maybe bond or history or experiences that...
Not, like sometimes for sure, but it's more a question of how seeing things in general, I would say, and also how... Well, you said it, my work is dark. I don't like to say it, but I've seen people say it. But it's not only dark. It's not dark to be dark. And this is not actually the purpose. This is not what I'm trying to do. It just come out dark, you know, in a way. But for the people who buy my works, they don't see the darkness in it. And I think this is very interesting.
Right.
They see hope, they see beauty, they see, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And some see joy and humor and, like, you know. So, and these are the ones who are okay with the dark, who are okay with their shadow.
For sure.
This is the people that I'm interested with.
Yeah,
you know?
I totally agree with that.
And
that makes sense.
That's really the purpose of my work, is like to work on ourselves, to be better human beings, and do the shadow work and everything. So when people are okay with their own shadow, they are okay to put my work on their walls and deal with it every day because they connect with their own shadow and they're okay with that. Like,
That's
I
awesome.
don't know exactly how to, develop that, but it's pretty much what it is. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Because, there are so much people, and that's very funny, actually. And also in San Francisco, San Francisco is all colors and happiness and super optimistic. And,
it's a Pinterest ad.
Yeah, and that's so funny. Like, nobody's dressed in black here, like it's really, and that's funny because this is here that I met the people the most afraid of their shadow, of their, and finally, that's very interesting. And I don't know if you experience that with your work, guys, but to see the reaction of people to the darkness, and they're going to be like, "Oh, it's too dark for me." It's and that raises things in them, like anything that they think about ghosts, they're going to think about death, they're going to think about everything that they want, and you can see the rejection that they have. That's super interesting.
That is interesting.
And that means that there is a part of themselves that is not like like worked on right then.
Yeah.
So
I mean, in America in general, I feel like death is this taboo topic to talk about. It's and I think that's a huge part of like the beginning of us being kind of shielded from bad things. It's like most people eat chicken nuggets because they don't want to see a bone. It's like they don't want to know that there's darkness out of what their actions are, or that we all kind of have the same ending at the end, and all these things that you kind of ignore in life, then
just catch up with
it's like you're trying to cushion yourself from the world, and that ends up making you soft or making you not able to deal with life and all the tough parts of it that make it good and bad and whatever.
Exactly. And that's so funny, actually, because you guys have just Mexico next to you, where the culture is really oriented.
Right, yeah.
We're trying to build a cushion right now to block them.
I know. It's too much bones over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they love death. Like, you look at their culture.
They're super mature about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They celebrate it. They, they really embrace that, which is not what we do at all. But yeah, that's interesting. So when you said earlier that you work on kind of like yourself through your art, is that kind of what you said?
Through what?
Through your art, like your art kind of helps you, like almost like holding a mirror to yourself. Is that kind of how you explain it?
No, I didn't say that, but we can go on this if you want.
I can't remember how you worded it. So
no, I was more talking about my clients, my audience, how they receive it more than myself.
Okay.
But of course, like on myself, I'm doing the shadow work, and I'm dressed in black every day since 20 years, and I'm one of the most positive people that my friends saw in their life. So I think it's just a way to deal with things and create balance. We all have one, and me, I'm like, okay, this is my darkness. This is the thing. This is what I'm thinking about life, death, the world, the society, like everything. And this is how it is. Take it or leave it. But inside, it's like I'm throwing up on the canvas like that. Inside, I'm just like super zen. Like just a little bee enjoying life. and yes, and that's so funny how some people are just the opposite. They will show up like they're going to be dressed like crazies with a lot of colors, harboring smiles, like, being super, and being so dark inside, so depressed all the time. And so, so, I guess it's, the coin and the reverse of the coin.
Yeah,
that's true. That's interesting.
Just trying to cover up their pain, I guess, with bright colors, maybe. I don't know what that's about.
I've seen that. Like, try to put just a beautiful cover to the book and make sure that people is not going to open it.
Or even like if you see people on Instagram or something and they portray their life as like the best life ever, and you're like, oh man, your like life is amazing. Like when my friends talk to me, they're like, oh man, you're always doing stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm always in my garage painting. That's all I do.
This is my glam, my garage.
Like, yeah, but you're doing something at least. And I'm like, you're like going to concerts and stuff and seeing the world. And they're like, oh yeah, kind of. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because in my head, when I see stuff from friends, it's like, oh wow, you're like doing stuff. I'm just in my garage every day grinding it out.
Exactly. That's how I feel too.
But then you talk to friends that are like that, and they're like, oh wow, I wish I could do what you're doing. You're like, you can.
Yeah, it's always comparison, and jealousy and stuff. Like, that's a big deal of social media, as we know now. It's very weird, a weird place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like actually the work that we have to do on ourselves because of the social media. You know, like to have to step back from time to time, to know that it's not healthy to constantly compare.
You have to,
oops, sorry. There is a life of someone, and there is your own life, and you have to connect with yours first.
Right.
You know, and it's so easy to be like, like either jealous or like inspired way too much by someone else's life, and at some point it's just not you. So
yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I don't actually care that much, but you hear and see about it all the time, and about the downfalls of social media. It's weird. What's that called when people miss out on something? That's like a term now.
Oh, FOMO.
Yeah.
How's that happen? I just say that, and I'm the French one.
Because I have horrible memory. That's why.
Okay.
But it's so weird to think about that. Is like, because I have friends personally where they are like, oh man, like, how come you didn't invite us to this or something? You're like, I don't know, man. Like, I can't think of everyone all the time. You know, but it's that weird. But it's like, would you even show up, or are you just mad that you weren't there that one time? But I don't know. I don't know where we're going with this. But yeah, so how do you, like, you know, you said you throw up on the canvas. How do you kind of like work through that process? Like, how does that kind of play out? Does it start with like you conceptualizing kind of what you're trying to talk about, or is it just natural, or I don't know?
You know, that's a good question, because I think it changes all the time. It's mutating. I feel that, you know, we all have these things that makes us paint or sculpt or go for a ride or do something. And I have my own things, and they slowly take shape in my brain. And the purpose is behind it, the signification, the meaning of things are behind it. And it just takes shape naturally, I would say. And then the title follow, and what I have to say about the piece follows too. Right. It kind of makes sense. But to make it more easy to understand, I'm working on 2 distinctive series since a couple of years. I don't know if you've seen that. And to work on series, kind of give a frame to, you know, of course, where you're going with your painting, either visually or like, you know, on the purpose of it. So I think I just stick with my project and let the things flow, you know. I would say that there is something very frustrating about me, is that ideas are flowing way faster than I can paint.
Right. Yeah.
So I end up on my iPad with my Apple Pen, just writing down all the paintings I have to do, all the ideas, and then I just check out what I've written. It's like 2 years of paintings, and I'm already almost discouraged. You know, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to paint all this.
Because you paint pretty slow, right?
Yeah, well, it depends what. You know, on my little series, Funny Bones series, it goes very fast because that's bones, and I can paint them my eyes closed. You know, and that's acrylic, so it's a fast process. For the oil paintings from the Versus series, it's it's a way longer process, and I just love also to go slow, to, you know, to just take advantage of each brushstrokes and each. I don't know. I just love the process of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna speed it up because we are in a fast, society that expect so much from us all the time.
You're so French.
I don't know. I just can't. I don't want to go faster and do some bad work.
I agree.
It's just quality over quantity. This is my motto in life for everything.
Yeah, I do
food,
like
friends, everything.
Okay, I'll do drawings like every day, but my paintings, when I look back, social media is another good thing about it is it captures like your time, so you can look back at it and go, oh, and I start counting up paintings. I'm like, oh, I did like 6 paintings last year. Like, wow, that's nothing.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm like, really? I thought that I worked all the time though, like 7 on 7. What the fuck?
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, that's disencouraging for like making a lot of money, but it's also like I can't change that. At least I don't want to. Like it's like I don't want to paint any faster if I can't make the quality of painting that I think I want. At least now. Maybe in the future I'll paint fast and quick and be happy with that. But for now, it's the obsession with getting things right and doing it the way I want it.
Yeah,
it's so important.
Yeah, I think that's a very healthy way to see things too, and. It can be, to be honest, it can be frustrating because we know that we have to be productive. The society is asking for that. Our collectors are asking for that. The galleries are asking for that. Like, there is so much pressure on us that we have to be smart to keep having fun. And on my side, the way that I found my balance, I would say, is to do those big oil paintings that takes a long time and take it easy with them, and just have fun. And on the side, doing this small series of bones that I can be way more productive with a like direct satisfaction of having something achieved at the end of the day. Yeah. So it's perfect. You know, it feels like, okay, like I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's rushed or bad quality because those bones, the way I paint them, I couldn't have been able to paint them like that 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It's quality. It's just different. Yeah. It's different shape, different meaning, different. Yeah,
it is. It is interesting when you have like the two kind of types of art you're doing, where one is so fast and gratifying because you do get something different from that. Totally. Just being able to finish something and accomplish it maybe in a day or two, you're like, oh wow, that was fun. Yeah, what's next?
Exactly.
And then there's the oil painting where it's that slow burn and you just are there enjoying it and trying to really pull out so much, at least for me, so much narrative as much as I can out of one piece, and really thinking about each thing I'm putting into this piece and making sure it all counts. And that, to me, I also enjoy. It's like probably the difference between writing like a novel and a short story or something. You know, they both
exactly
have their place, but they both, it is what it is. Whatever. Yeah. Kind of fizzled off there hard. But yeah, that's cool. So, you do a lot of like animals and is that using that as like kind of a big part of your, subject matter? Is that something where you have a huge love for animals, or that you kind of want to use something? Because I know for like me, I use like a thing that's detached from me as my narrative tool, being like a female figure. Being detached from it to a point helps me kind of like say something that maybe me as a person wouldn't be comfortable saying out loud or something like that, if that makes any sense. It allows me to just say it without being attached to it, or I don't know if that makes any sense.
I'm trying to figure out what you're saying.
Kind of like saying, like if I said, like for instance, if I had like a fear of spiders, which I don't, but if I was like embarrassed of that, right, I could use a painting to portray the fear of spiders through this figure without me having to, I don't know. It's almost like a
spider
shield
in your hands.
Yeah, or even be like, Josh's afraid of spiders. It's like almost like a shield from, having me being associated with what I'm saying.
Oh, that's interesting.
If that makes any sense.
And that's funny that you mentioned spiders, because I'm a deep, crazy arachnophobiac. Like, I can't stand spiders. I just can't. I love them in a way because they're beautiful. They're amazing little creatures. But, ooh, if one is coming just on the table right now, I'm going to be like at the opposite of the city in 2 minutes, sweating and crying. No, I think, like, I'm connected to what I paint. It's not like a shield. It's to express things. But that's funny when you say that for the love of animal. I wonder if that's love of animal or hate of human beings. And that's probably why it's called versus. You know? So no, I have no hate with human beings. It's just the purpose is just to put them back where they are supposed to be,
right?
You know, and this whole project that I have with nature is the idea is to put ourselves in her shoes, Madame Nature, right? In her shoes, and try to imagine how it would be for us if she was doing to us what we do to her. And it's a little bit simplist to say that way, but it's just, basically to try to reevaluate where we're at and where we should be,
right?
And see, you know, the difference, the big gap between
for sure.
us.
Yeah, that's a good.
So of course it is like linked to environment problems,
right?
And to, you know, like this last one is farm animals that I've done, the 2 last ones. So even like those, you know, basic animals, so basic, there is so much shit going on with this. So we know that. You know, so it's not my paintings are not there to portray what we already know. It's just to try to give a kind of a different feeling, you know, of what it could be if that was different. The first actual paintings that I've done on this series, this is a woman and she has just a butterfly on her finger. I don't know if you know this this one, and she's like reaching out, like, you know, like in a kind of 3D effect type of thing. And she's literally scared, like super creeped out by the butterfly. Like the butterfly has a power that it's not supposed to have.
Right.
And so this is like basically to switching seats,
right?
You know, of that. So it's my little you know, part, I will say, that I'm doing for our planet.
That's cool. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's a dark path to go down.
Ooh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just the whole, I mean, I don't know. That is a big narrative to tackle just in general. That's you know, it's like the whole idea of, I don't know. Maybe because I don't like humans that much either. So,
but don't get me wrong. I love them.
Yeah,
I love human interactions. I love human relationships. I'm so fascinated. You know, there is so much work to do, and the relationship that humans have with nature is a whole topic, super complex, super interesting. And I'm just super fascinated by all of it.
Yeah, we were just talking about kind of zoos on our ride here.
Oh, right.
And just how weird they are, because it's like...
What's that?
Like zoos, like where they keep animals, you know, for like, you can go visit the I don't know.
Zoo. Yeah. Sorry.
And we were just talking on the ride here about how weird it is to do that, to like see that, and you know, like because he just mentioned Marine World when he was a child, and I was like, oh, that's such a dark place.
Yeah, the worst. Yeah.
You know, and what purpose does it serve? Because it's kind of like the thing where we were talking about how it's supposed to serve like the educational purpose, right? To show kids what animals are and, you know, teach them these things. But by doing that, you're kind of like caging animals that shouldn't be caged. But, you know, it's also a very complicated topic. I don't know. It's weird. It's
complex. It's very complex.
Yeah. And I have no idea how to answer those problems. And I'm not sure anyone does.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, we all do a mini part. I mean, we all, I wish, but to first be informed and to be aware of what's going on. And I think unless you live as a hermit on the top of the Kilimanjaro, you know what's going on this planet. And then just pick your thing to just try to make things better. And there is so much choice now that we have in order to make things better. Even if it's little, it can change so much, I think so.
I think so.
So, yeah, on my side, it goes through painting, of course. And as a professional tarot reader, it goes also through psyche and personal development, personal growth, for humans. So I'm like playing on those two fields, humans and nature, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's something you recently started doing, right? The tarot card reading?
Yeah, well, I've been in tarot for years now, and I wasn't thinking to do it professionally at all. And actually, the boyfriend and some friends around have been pushing me and say, hey, why don't you do that professionally? In the first place, I was like, no, and just first there are so many tarot readers everywhere. The planet doesn't need me on that. and yeah, like I was just a full-time artist, so it's kind of difficult to say, hey, why not to start another business? Because I have my arms full already. But that's one of the best decisions I've made in years. Yeah, so, it's very interesting.
So I'm one of the people that are probably like tarot card readers enemy or something. I don't. Someone was like, I don't believe it. That's me. I mean, in nature, like my nature is to just pretty much not believe anything. Ever.
I live with someone like that. I perfectly picture what you're talking about.
So, I mean, I don't actually know pretty much anything about tarot card reading other than, like, my wife, she's kind of like into that. Like she is? Yeah, she's into like witches and all like that kind of like, I don't know what it's called. I don't know.
The occult, maybe? I don't know.
Satan? I'm just kidding.
No, she's not insane.
But she's been talking about tarot cards this week too, because one of her friends is like creating a tarot, like a custom tarot card thing for as a what's the I'm trying to blank on when people hire you to do art.
Oh, commission?
Good thing I don't do an art podcast. A commission. So they've been talking about tarot cards, and I don't actually. I just know there's like a death card. That's probably like the most like.
There you go.
Well, and I know
you're connected.
Someone recently told me that like the death card isn't even a bad thing. I'm like, all right, I'm out.
It's gonna be too complex.
Yeah. So how did you get into that?
Well, actually, because of San Francisco.
Really?
Because of San Francisco and my life here, I opened to so many things. I was closed before. I come from a place, like a very Cartesian place with parents which were like very scientific oriented, like very like just grounded people like here, not up there, you know?
Right.
And,
sounds like someone I would get along with.
And that's funny because I think that's my passion for science and everything that kind of led me to all of those things, which is technically the opposite for some people. And also what I lived, all my experiences in San Francisco and some very harsh experiences. And, we are resilient. So I needed some stuff, around me to be more open on some things. And it brought me so much that I started to dig that more, how you say that, like more deeper. And yes, and what was your question again? Sorry. How I got to that.
It is interesting too, because I've been thinking more about like why human beings have like kind of this like urge to go towards like spirituality or religion or something outside of like the physical world? Like, what is the reasoning for this urge? It is a very weird concept to think about. It's almost kind of also like attached to art in a weird way. Like it's the whole idea of like, why do we create this thing? There's no in music and all those things, like why do they exist and why do we do them? It doesn't make sense that much, except for, I don't know, it's weird.
Well, probably because there's no question to ask about that. It's just because we are humans. This is what we do, and it's just that then we become like superstars and we become like having superpowers and the kings of the world, and that's also the problem related to nature, to come back at it. But actually, to answer to your question, I am into massage therapy, aromatherapy, Reiki, acupressure, all these things. So I would say that I have this big Mary Poppins bag of tools, therapeutic tools to make people feel better, about themselves, their life, and to be able to reflect where they're at, and try to give them back their power. But the right one, I would say, like the good one, So to me, what happened with tarot is very interesting because it kind of gathers everything. This is visual. I have to talk. I love to talk, and it just makes sense, And what you said, we're not gonna enter into this because this is art podcast. But you don't need to believe in tarot. Okay, this is not something. This is archetypes. This is psychology. So you're gonna fall on the cards that are good for you. Period. That's going to resonate to you always.
Right.
So this is something that works whether you believe it or not.
I see. That's interesting.
Of course, everybody asked me, so wait a minute, you're in tarot, this is visual, this is beautiful cards, you're a painter. When are you going to do your own deck? And that's a good question. I think that's going to come up one day. But there is 78 cards in the tarot. Meaning 78 paintings. That's going to be a lot of work. So I'm going to wait a little.
Sounds like you need to get on it now, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe 30 years from now, I'm going to be like, I've done it. Did it. Sima.
That seems like a crazy amount of work. There's like shows where they'll do like 78 artists.
Yep.
They each do their own card.
So
that's a good idea. But
that's pretty interesting to see every people's idea of each card, actually.
Does it, as a person who's into that, is there things where like you have to have these inclusions to actually make sense of the card? You know what I mean? Like, so you probably see things and you're like, well, that's not right.
That's not right. But in a way, there are hundreds and hundreds of tarot decks out there, and people take freedom now, and they just want to create beautiful tarot decks, but sometimes they just completely forget about the basics, that they should respect in a way. Oh, well.
So are you also doing like massage therapy in that as well?
Yep.
Oh, it's interesting.
Aromatherapy, like
I'm
like Swiss knife. Always been like that.
That is awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm going back to like the whole like I don't believe like science is like my way of like understanding things, but I have like a cousin who's a massage therapist, and he's kind of like pretty hippie. And he was telling me, I'm learning this like new method of massage therapy where he's like, do you have any pain anywhere? And I'm like, yeah. And I point out an area, and he literally would just like put his hands on my whatever spot and barely do anything. And I'm like, all right, man, leave me alone. And then that part of my body would feel better. And I'm like, what it's like this weird thing where it's like it's like it's weird because it's one of those things where I'm so anti-believing what he just did that if it works, I'm like, I don't know. Well, I can't argue with it because I was against it. I'm not trying to, it's not even what's the placebo effect? It's like I didn't believe you. So what does that mean? But
that's the thing. I think it's just the saying, there is a crack into everything. This is where the lights come in, right? So I think we can believe in everything we want or not believe in anything, there is a crack somewhere. And even science, we know that can't explain everything. There are some obscure zones there. And why not to believe in whatever we want, you know, and give credit, especially if those systems, like metaphysics systems, for instance, can help so much, you know. And that's all the purpose of it, I guess, you know, just becoming a better human being and just like spread better stuff in this dark world.
So, I mean, you live in Paris. Has it been, because I know you guys, I mean, we have our own horrific things happening in our parts of the world, but I know you guys have had some weird moments. So,
that's so funny. I was like, does he want to talk about this? On my way to come here, I was like, I don't even know what I can say about it.
I don't know.
With the
if
yellow jackets and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You feel like Paris is burning and
well, I mean,
there's war there.
See, the thing is like, I feel like we live in our thing, so we know that, like, to the outside world, it probably looks like America's going crazy. But for the most part, you walk around.
Like California burnt down last year.
Yeah, like the whole state or something. Yeah. But it's like you walk around and everyone's still, you know, getting coffee and talking to each other. You know, there are parts of the world that seem, or parts of America that seem to be in this heightened stage of emotions and aggression and all these things. But for the most of the people, we're just, you know, doing what we normally do. So I'm assuming France, anywhere now that I see that happening, it's like, oh, well, it's probably a small percentage of things in this small little area that all this is happening.
Yeah, well, you know, there is always the media and what they want to do with the news, right? What they want to show. And all I can say is that in Paris, it's not that bad. I kept painting and massaging and tarotting and doing my things, you know. Yeah. Just right now, you don't have government. Oh, no, the government is back, right? But we are doing,
for
I think for 3 weeks, But we're still doing this podcast, so whatever, you know. Just at some point, you keep living with the shit happening around, and it depends of the degree of involvement that you want to have. On my side, to be honest, to keep a clear mind and my zenitude and my you know, positivity and stuff. It's not that I'm playing the ostrich. Is that how you call it in English? Like, you know,
like head in the sand.
But it's just that I know if I dig it too much, it's gonna make me pretty depressed.
Right.
So I'm just like keeping my reasonable distance with all this, you know. And as far as the yellow jacket and Paris burning and stuff, that was pretty organized, and there were like, that was in defined spots in Paris. The metro station were shut down. Like, people knew where it will happen, and people knew that will not be for angels. That would be like those kids, you know, those black blocs we call them. Like, that will break everything, put in fire everything. That we knew that would be dangerous anyway. So no need a crystal ball to know all this. But it's not that bad. It's just people revendicating,
for sure,
you know, and this is what French people are always complaining and protesting.
Yeah, this is nothing new for
rights.
You guys. You
no,
guys have been pretty...
we're pretty much, and we are really organized for this type of shit, you know. So it's just happening, and whatever happening is good. Once again, I was talking about balance, you know, and yes, the government does something good sometimes and mostly shitty stuff, then people has to protest, you know, and this is just how it goes. And I don't know what's next, to be honest. And as soon as that I can keep doing what I'm doing, I'm okay with that, to be honest.
For sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. So but you guys have a pretty good, like, art kind of tight-knit group in Paris?
When you say you guys, John and I, or just in general, like Paris in general?
Yeah, like Paris in general.
Yeah. It's difficult to. It's a good question, and you know what? I don't know if I can answer to it, because this is not like here where there was a community, if I can say so, because everybody is moving out. But you know, like this little clump of artists, this big family. In France, it doesn't work that way, at least in Paris. And people are not supporting each other as here. This is also one of the reasons that I moved here. That here everybody is just like, supportive and encouraging and want to collaborate and, you know, want to hang out and just do things together. Over there, it's like way more
competitive or something?
Competitive, individualist. People will not help you out on things, won't give you opportunities that simply, won't open doors for you unless you break them. You know, they won't give you as much chance that here.
Where does that competition come from? Do you know?
I think it's it's probably a culture thing. Like, and they
didn't create the croissant on accident.
We actually didn't create them. They come from Vienna. But that's it. I would say, you know, like there are so many differences that I've learned, like living here compared to over there.
Yeah.
And here, when you're a kid and you go to school, I'm going to be very like stereotyping right now, okay? It's general, I prefer to say. But here, when you go to school, you're encouraged all the time. When you do something, it's like, oh my God, you're so badass. This is amazing. Keep going, you know?
Sure.
If you do the exact same thing at the school when you're a kid in France, it's like, this is it? Are you kidding me? You know, you're completely repressed, always like pushed down. Like this is never enough. You know? So all the education system is based on that in France versus the US, where you have like good child and everything. So I think the roots are there already. So when you grow as an artist, you have so much things to prove and stuff like that. But you develop this kind of I don't know, you're way less confident and you already bring everything's done. Like, I'm an artist, therefore I'm broke. I'm an artist, therefore I'm supposed to be like completely out there, you know, and not responsible. I'm an artist. This is kind of a universal stereotype, of course. But in France, then it's like there is bitterness. That is a part of each artist, and they're trying to do their best, but in their little corner. And they try. I'm gonna be like a little bit bitchy. I'm gonna say like a warning, but it's like they're a little genius, and they wait for the people to go to them. You know, and here. I think this is the opposite, that you guys are working so much and you're putting yourself out there. And it's called ambition. And over there in France, ambition is dirty. It's like to fart in the public transportation. You don't want to have ambition.
So I should stop farting in public transportation?
Yes.
Is that not good?
In France, at least. But you know what I mean? It's like to be ambitious over there, and especially as an artist, is basically means that you're going to step on the feet of someone else, or you can shoot somebody in the back. So it feels like you feel way more lonely, and there is not this kind of family tights that you can have here. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. And that's so funny, because when I arrived on the art scene of Paris, I wasn't a baby, you know. I came from fashion. I came from theater, like as a comedian. I did like a lot of things, like in my life before that. And so it's not that I was too optimistic, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to try another ground, and maybe it's going to be more fun because, you know, I've seen egos and stuff and people reacting to stuff like little different. Not that I'm a unicorn, but I'm not too much into this, you know, like type of shooting in the back stuff and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, that's awesome. And I came from the underground scene of Paris, you know, punk goth, rock, and all the things. And some artists over there came from the same platform, I would say. So we kind of connected. And I was like, hey, there is a community finally. There is a family, you know, why not? No, that was just in surface. Really? And I was like, in the first place, I saw all those works, all those possibilities, you know. And I was like, oh, that would be awesome if we could make this together and this together, you know, like if I was a newborn and I didn't understand anything of, you know, the mentality there. And they looked at me and be like, Delphine, this is not how it works here. I'm like, okay, bye-bye. Hello, California.
Right.
Voilà, that's my story.
So when you came to California, was there a bit of you that had that kind of French mentality that you had to kind of let go of, or
yeah, I've learned many things. But first, I wasn't a good fit for this Paris, I would say, mentality, because, you know, that's why I felt home straight away here. So already that was kind of a game, like that was a little win. But of course, I had, like, just as described, like this education behind me. And like Monty, for example, my friend Monty, at some point, he was telling me things about, you know, so ambitious about his future and stuff. And a part of me was really wanting for him that it happens, and another part of me was like, what a jerk, what an asshole, like, to tell all those things. Like, first, he doesn't understand that life is more complex than that, that he's gonna have, like, he's gonna take walls, you know, and doors into his face, like, so many times. And also, it's like, who he thinks he is, you know? And I've learned so much from that. And and ambition is beautiful, you know, and it gave me, you know, some empowerment back also, you know, to...
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monty's also probably can get like a million doors shut in his face and still be just as confident as the...
Oh, yeah, that's... Yeah.
See if I could pick this lock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen that with a lot of artists here, like not shy about talking about their art and want to share it and just collaborate and express where they want to go with their art, you know, and how they see themselves in 10 years and what their best accomplishment will be and the best, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just super cool, you know, and that doesn't mean that for that they're going to shoot other artists in the back or they're not going to open opportunities for others. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, that's interesting. So when you were in Paris, did you think that was the standard worldwide? Because I've never thought of the art world like that. Like, I've never... I mean, we're in California, so I'm friends with other artists, and, you know, if you want to go show at these galleries, you need to go and pursue them and really build a relationship and talk with them and those kind of things. So I've never thought of it as I've never thought of any other art kind of world than the one I live in. So did you think that there was a different version, or did you just kind of discover it coming and seeing like, oh, wow, this is totally...
I felt that something else was out there.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, and that's why I traveled.
Nice.
You know, now I want to. It's not that I want to come back on what I said, but I just want to precise that was my experiment. You know, Paris is big. There are many different art scenes, and maybe there are some like little clumps of, you know, artists here and there, and some stuff happen really nicely and smoothly, and like with this kind of family type of vibes, you know. But the only moment that I really felt that it was happening and it was there and open to me as an opportunity to connect with other artists and stuff, that was here in San Francisco.
No, we get it. You hate Paris is what you were saying.
Yeah, that's why I came back to live there, right? No, I'm in love with Paris. No. But and I have, of course, very good artist friends over there, you know. But of course, because they are my good artist friends, they kind of have the same feelings as me. So I'm not like, you know, tripping out. And I think that it's a pretty common thought that we have, all of us.
And you also kidnapped one of ours.
Yeah, I think he kidnapped himself. Like, he was so happy to have the opportunity to say, hey, goodbye for a while.
But yeah. So, I mean, I read in, like, I think your website bio that you did theater and art, but you, like, pursued that as a profession?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I just thought...
anything that I kind of did in my life, I did it like a bullhead, like going, you know, right in the heart of the matter, you know. I just, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. So that's like because those are three. I mean, so you just knew you wanted to do something creative, but you were kind of, or was it just unintentional that you?
As far as painting, you mean?
Because you did theater and then fashion, which are both pretty creative fields, and then art. Did you know that creativity was kind of something that you wanted in the forefront of?
Oh yeah,
a career?
Since I'm a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. But I never wanted to be a painter. You know, just no. That wasn't like, I thought that was very boring. You know, when I was a kid and I was seeing painters just staying hours and hours in the front of their easel, I was like, those dudes, like, they can take a walk. It's sunny out there. What are they doing? You know. So it just like a flow of, you know, like a, how you say that, like a red thread, you know, of adventures that kind of led me to everything that I've done in my life.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, like, it's just what we have in the low belly, you know, that what animates us, and we can express it whatever the medium we choose, basically. So, you know, it's passion, right? So you can be passionate about matches or whatever it is. You're going to just put all your energy into it. So, and it happens that it's art, but it can be something else.
Right.
I've been a dancer for like more than 15 years of my life as well.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. So, and that's, you know, when you have that inside of you, you just go for everything that attracts you. You're curious, you dig your subject, and you try to become good at it and share that with the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So should we talk about your painting?
Oh my God. Let me
Bring it up.
sip some water.
Get prepared.
It's time to be critiqued by waiting to dry.
Sorry for that. That is very American.
Oh my God, that's good.
All right, so we have this paint. What was it called again? Sorry, I was like, it's called like Poppies. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, Poppies.
And you know what? I'm going to take a break just right now to say thank you, because I didn't so far. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, really, like, thank you for having me and to be interested into my work.
For sure.
And
thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
No, really, I'm really honored, really, and especially that all the artists that you interviewed before, and you know, I've been here invited. I'm like, you know, I feel like really honored. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Poppies.
So Poppies. Yeah, we don't want to pat ourselves on the back at all. We're artists. We hate that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you have a painting called Poppies, and so there's like, I mean, there's a lot in this painting. I was gonna say,
welcome to my world.
So, I mean, a lot of your work in general, you have like this central kind of cluster of stuff that's going on. And there's usually like a reoccurring, you know, where it's like a certain animal, sometimes people, sometimes animals being killed by people. I think I remember saying, I can't remember.
Or the opposite.
Or the opposite, yeah. And so for this one, there seems the animal in it are these cows, or they're all cows, right?
They're
Yeah,
cows,
on this one they're all
Or
cows.
bulls. I can never tell the difference. They're the same thing, right? Is there a name for what cows and bulls are as a one? Just a random thought popped in.
In English, I don't know.
Bovines? I don't know.
Is there something in French?
Yeah, we will say bovidé.
And that encapsulates men and female cows?
Yeah,
Things?
like all this type of, you know, like ruminant, like, you have this word, right? Ruminant?
Ruminant?
Oh,
when
yeah.
they, you know, like,
ruminant, I think it is. Yeah, something
is
like
that
that.
an English word? Like,
I think so. Yeah. It's
just like having this grass, like, you know,
Yeah.
hours and hours into your mouth,
When
and
they-
just like digesting.
it's
it's
for animals that
classified
have
as probably
like
not.
more than four stomachs, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay,
Yeah. That type of that grouping of animals.
So you have cows living in skeleton form, and then you have a group of people kind of in the middle sleeping, it looks like, and then poppies, which, I mean, we all know kind of are associated with heroin. I don't know if that was a part of this at all.
Well, technically, opium, right?
Yeah, opium, yeah. And I don't know if the sleeping has to do with the poppies or not. But maybe. so the painting is like this huge cluster where there's poppies kind of popping out through the what seems to be like kind of the cracks almost, like where there's space, and then people sleeping, and then the cows. And I mean, from talking to you earlier, I'm assuming that this is kind of like a narrative based off of what the cow represents for us as humans is a food source. And I don't know if that has to do with food, kind of us being asleep to what we're actually doing to these cows. And I don't know, there is like this, I mean, for me, the cows are like, they seem almost like the beautiful part of the painting in a way. Like they seem like very regal in a weird way, and very like portrayed really well, where the humans are kind of like, I don't know, lazy creatures, if I don't know. But that's kind of what I read from the piece. But I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, because when you talked earlier about like, for sure I see like beauty in this. Like, I mean, it's painted well. The cows are even like, what is it? The golden calf? No, I don't know. In religion, it's like a big thing too. Yeah, it's like
like sacred cow. That
yeah,
kind of thing?
like I mean, like Hindus have it. Even Christians have it with like the golden calf.
Oh,
like,
right. Mm-hmm.
And then like there's some, I don't remember, in like the later chapters of the book. That book. No, big book. No diss. But yeah. So is that kind of, did I hit any nails on that head, or did I fail at interpreting your work in general?
I think that's very interesting, and maybe we just go with your interpretation.
Okay.
What about that?
Was I wrong?
No. It's quite close. I mean, yeah. No, it's quite close.
So is that why you would pick like a cow? Like, is that the whole idea of like, you're trying to, because for me, cow is always associated with food. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's the most consumed meat, but it is definitely high up there, probably to the chicken and fish. Mm-hmm. It's probably like third place, which, I mean, you don't want to place in that Olympics.
Yeah, and they are also the main, no, they are not the main problem, but they are how you say that in English? I don't even know how to put that together. They are
for like global warming, they're like
they're one of
for like the emissions,
the
CO2,
sort of like.
Yeah. So that's one of the first reasons for the global warming. But how you say, like their race? No, their
waste.
The way that they have been taken care of, that they raise them and they like multiply them. Like, I don't know.
Like
oh damn.
For
factory farming. That sort of thing?
Yeah. Like the thing, like. But anyway, you got the idea.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So yeah, it's definitely this, and the painting before that kind of is coupled with this one is with chicken. So it's exactly what it is about, and what we do with them, and yeah, this little cluster of human beings, very small and just piled up. I could say that they are sleeping. I could say that they are just lazy ass. I could say they are just maybe even not very alive.
Right.
Voilà. It's just to, once again, to put the human right where it's supposed to be. It's just like to question our place, our seat, like, and because usually if you take proportions, right, they're supposed to be a bit bigger on this painting.
Right.
So there is really this idea of, okay, what about, like how cows, when they're dead, are piled up in trucks and everything. So what about we do that with human and see how it goes,
Right.
And the poppies, so you nailed it, but that's not the only reason, is that in France, but here too, I think, poppies are, those wildflowers that grows in fields.
Right.
And so they are just a part of their landmarks, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's just, to give this kind of a farm kind of aspect of it.
That's interesting.
But
God, I just had a question and I just lost it, but it was good.
It's going to come back.
So had to do with the poppies. So the poppies, because you mentioned like the cows being a part of a big cause of what, like a CO2 emissions or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm not a scientist, so I say whatever after, just to save myself from committing.
No, you don't have to be. It's just like wide information. Lately, everybody knows that. It's like, this is bad.
Mm-hmm. So it made me think about, you ever watch like Wizard of Oz, where she walks through like the poppy field and they emit this gas? I don't know if that was
interesting. Thank you. You gave me some hints about my own painting. That's very cool. No, but poppies also, like, it's going to be simplest, but poppies are red. Red is blood, right? Mm-hmm. And in the first place, it wasn't meant to be all poppies. I wanted to add more flowers, like white flowers, and have like some drips of blood outside of the mouths of those cows. Oh, wow. And after I was like, Delphine, don't be so gross. So remove that blood and just put poppies, because I love them anyway. So that's the idea behind it, like how much we can bleed other animals, I would say, like alive things around us, for our own comfort and appetite and careless behavior.
That's interesting. That question about like humans being in their place is like this I've been thinking about that. I forgot where I heard it, but it's the whole idea of like if aliens, came to this world and then we became stupid, or even like the whole
they're already here, no? That's what they say in San Francisco.
What's the AI, the artificial intelligence? The whole idea of it being like this thing that has a superior, and if you create AI, it has this superior intellect to a human being, right? So does that make us second to them as far as what is important on the, if intellect is what decides what's the most important, and we create something that's more intellectual than us, does it have the right to cage us up to do whatever it wants to us because it has the intellect to be superior to us? It's that interesting dilemma of like, that you really, like that is a future potential question that might have legitimate, applications to our life. Is if you create this thing, it is technically smarter than us, so why isn't it not more important than us? If that's why why us humans are more important than animals, it's because that seems to be why people kind of think like that. At least from what I've noticed, it really seems like people are like, well, we're the superior race. And it's like, why? Because a monkey can rip us apart. So it's superior to us in strength. Why we can't, it's like, what are you determining why we are special? It always seems to be intellect.
Yeah. It usually ends up, because we can outsmart them. It's kind of what it ends up being.
Intelligence is not common sense.
Right.
Or it's not like using all. We have way more potential than our own intelligence, I think, and is the one to be human and to use this intelligence properly.
Yeah.
And we don't. So I don't want to sound too dark and too a donor on this podcast, I feel like. It's like, oh, no, I'm sorry. But, there is intelligence and intelligence. Like using your neurons to build artificial intelligence and stuff, that's pretty badass.
Right.
We are badass, really.
For sure.
But we are not intelligent enough to use our intelligence, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we don't use it in a right way.
Right.
To me. From my point of view.
But, the question about the AI, the reason I think that question is so interesting is because it then reevaluates how valuable everything else is, right? You go like, well, if AI is more special because of intelligence, are we okay with that? And if not, then maybe we should reevaluate our relationships with how we treat everything. Because if you look at the world without humans, it can coexist, like until an asteroid hits it perfectly fine. Things will eat things will die, things will live, whatever. But it just kind of has this like, it's just an ecosystem. It thrives in whatever, but we live outside of that. And I don't know. It's always like, if you think about the AI question, you should reevaluate how you should coexist with the world based off of that question. In my thought, it's like,
that's interesting.
It's like you should reevaluate. Maybe we should try to figure out how to coexist with things. I don't know, or maybe not, because people will get eaten by things or something. I don't know.
No, we have the intelligence to not get eaten by a tiger, right? We just can do that, but we can also have the intelligence to not kill that tiger. I mean, we have so much potential, and we just don't use it, and it's so frustrating. So frustrating. And I guess once again, like, what are we doing here, and what part are we doing in order to fix that? I don't like to say so much fixing things and the idea of fixing the world, because the first thing that we have to fix first is ourselves. That will help a little. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally agree with the whole concept of like you fixing yourself and everyone trying to like do better for themselves is like a huge
step.
Yeah, it's a huge step.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just all
that should be the first one.
Yeah. But that's awesome. So how long does that painting take you to do?
So this one was that was a little special because I think I've started the sketch last summer.
Okay.
So it kind of literally spread it on a long time because I was doing another one in the same time. And on the top of that, all my Funny Bones series. I've painted a lot of Funny Bones last year. I think I've painted like 43 or 44 paintings, and on the top of that, 6 oil paintings, I think. And on the top of that, a new business. So that's explain why I kind of finished this one like just right before to come here.
Yeah, and your Funny Bones, you have like on a different Instagram, I noticed.
Yeah. They have their own identity now. They're playing by themselves. They have their own Facebook page and Instagram, and they are pretty funny. People love them. So that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's very funny. They have a very good answer to the public. Like the answer is pretty good.
That's great. Yeah.
I'm having fun with them.
With I don't know how you break down price wise for your art, but it is interesting because for me, like something that takes less time, obviously for me, I'm going to price it less. Right. But I don't know. It's just interesting to think about art and how, because we are running our own business, and we have to kind of maneuver and painting these like quick little things or drawing these quick little things for me are really rewarding and really fun. They're also like great business wise, I think, because you do need to make money from this, hopefully, unless you have really rich parents, which I don't know. I mean, I don't. So that's not my
neither.
So that option is gone out the window. But but looking at it, like a business, having those small pieces are great for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's very important to give more a bigger price range, to people, because some people that are following you since so many years, are really supporting you and love your work so much and would like to have an original from you because this is an original, one of a kind on the planet.
Yeah.
So some people really want that, and no, they can't afford like a 3,000 euros painting, you know. So like on my side, this is also my good way out, I would say, with my Funny Bones, because they are way smaller and way more affordable than the bigger ones. Like that, everybody is happy, And so that's interesting what you said, because you said I price my work depending on how long I'm going to spend on it.
Right.
So what do you mean? Like, for instance, if you have like 24 by 18 that you spend 1 month on it. And
are we talking centimeter or inch?
Inch.
Okay.
I'm in America and try to adjust. Be adaptable. And another one, same size, but you spend like a week on it because somehow there is like less details, or like, how you're gonna price the second one less than the first one?
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to bring up a little bit, just because it is complicated. Like there are some times where I have a smaller piece that I love and a bigger piece that I hate. And I have no option to show it because I need to fill some wall space, in a gallery or something. And maybe the small one took less time, but I'm more attached to it. So for me personally, I will price them usually almost the exact same price if it's like a huge, 2 foot by 3 foot or a small, like, is that kind of your question? Or?
Yeah. I kind of understand. That's actually very interesting. That's very interesting as an answer, because I've been like in my early years as a painter, I've been struggling with that because I was being taught that the size counts, not what's on the painting. So that will make any sense that the two same size are two different prices. And this is on you as the artist to decide how much work you put on it. Right. But you're supposed to have you're supposed to have the same price for the same size and so on. So that's very interesting because there is this emotional part that you mentioned, this emotional attachment that you have to your work. And sometimes it's difficult to let go some, and somehow like they sell super fast when they are not your favorite, like what's going on. But I think for what I've learned through the years, that your emotional attachment to your paintings doesn't define the price. And that's a pain in the ass, really. That's not fair, but I think this is how it's supposed to be for what I learned.
See, for me, it's weird because usually I will, the one I'm most attached to, if it's a group of paintings, I'll price it higher than anything else that's that size. Like usually that's priced higher than the average. Then if I broke it down by inch or whatever, that one's extra. But I've found that almost always that piece is the one that sells at least first. And usually even then I'm kind of regretting that I priced it low, even though it's the highest priced piece. And I'm like, I wish I priced it higher because I feel like in a weird way I got cheated out of holding onto that painting for a little bit, even though I probably wouldn't hold on to it for that much, but it's weird. It's because it's not like the paintings I take home with me most of the time. The gallery will hold on to it and maybe show it like seasonally or something or whatever. So it's, so I don't know. It's something weird, but that's kind of how I do it. I know there's plenty of different ways, but me personally, emotion does play a role in whether on the price of the painting. And for me, it's never been proven wrong. Like it still sells. So I'm not like proven that I shouldn't do that, but I don't know. I mean, I
think we all have our own way to work on these things. And I think that's healthy. Yeah. I'm so tired to have like all those rules, like this is the way it is. And every galleries in the world have to take 50%. And everything artists have to be pricing this way. And oh my God, we're all different. We all have a different path. Right. There is as many artist careers that there are artists. I mean, so I think that's very cool that everybody is just doing their own thing. Yeah. And as soon as we just stay transparent for our collectors, this is the most important, that we explain how we work with that. And I think they figure it out and they agree with it. And if they're not, then they just don't buy our work. And it's going to be for somebody else. Exactly. Too bad.
So sad. Yeah. I mean, it is weird because we are artists, and so the business aspect of the art world assumes that the business has to stay the same no matter who the artist is. We all have to fit into these things, but we're artists. We're like all over the place with, personalities and what we're putting on, whatever we're painting on or whatever we're doing. So it's weird to try to like fit us into this cookie cut hole when we're so not trying to do that. Yeah. by nature, at least for a lot of us, I feel like we don't want to. We're trying to be artists for a living, you know. So we're not going to get a normal we don't want to go down the normal job pathway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know.
Yeah, we just we seek freedom, obviously. So how we can put ourselves back in those cases and frames that we're not fitting in, that's not, you know. But I think it's, when you start, it's still important to kind of, this is what I felt on my side, is that you don't know. Like I'm self-taught. I never done an art school, so
me too.
Yeah, I remember. And you? Can't remember. Oh no, you did. You had that. I remember that.
I'm the little schoolboy.
But what I mean is that, but actually that's not relevant. Like what I'm going to say, because I think at the schools they don't even teach you that. It's just
hardly anything.
Yeah, what to do next, you know, like, okay, you have your art, but what you're going to do after that to have an actual career, how you're supposed to be professional. So it's always nice to know that there are galleries out there and there is a certain way to operate, you know, when you start. And then when you grow, you can just, you know, try out things and see if it fits to you or not. And like, for instance, look at with my Funny Bones series. Lately, I've done a show in November, and I decided to print mugs, like merch, you know, literally. Never in my life I was thinking doing that before, because fine art is fine art, you know, you don't touch fine art. You can make prints, okay, but you don't go, you know, overboard with stuff like that. So I thought that this little series of bones was totally okay with this, you know. So you just try out new things, and of course all mugs gone. Like people love them, you know. Nice. But yeah, I'm thinking about trying new things, and I'm thinking about, you know, taxidermy shops and stuff like that. They are not art galleries, but it is a really good way for me to place those little ones because the clients of the taxidermy shops, at least in Paris, are wealthy. They are there's very high-end type of audience there. So, you know, and in those shops, when you depose, like when you lend them your work, what's the right word for that?
What do you call it?
Drop?
It's like show is usually.
Yeah, I know the word. I just can't. What is it?
But you know what I mean. So when you leave them your work, is that take like what, 20%? You know, 20%. So it's like it's different from the art scene,
great idea.
And it allows also for the work to live on another scene, you know, while I'm gonna keep doing living my other oil paintings with galleries and other, you know. It's just like this is way wider than
that's great.
We think, you know, like we should play more with our own playground, basically.
You're starting to sound like an American with that ambition.
Oh, I know, this is weird.
That is great though, that you have like this weird, you have like this section of your art that's separate, and it allows you to kind of take the business side less serious and go like, oh, I want to try this. Oh, I want to try mugs. Oh, I want to go here and try this.
Yeah.
And it allows that freedom. And
consignment was the word. Sorry.
Thanks a lot. 5 years later.
Thank you. Well, it's not that I take it less seriously.
I got to take advantage when I have something to say.
But, you know, like the preciousness of your fine art kind of forces you to like tiptoe around certain
things. Like, in a way, be more creative, you know, simply, for sure. And just experiment other stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know that, because thinking like the whole taxidermy idea is such a good idea, and it fits your work so well that it's like, oh yeah, that might, you know, like that has the potential to be very successful for you, you know. And when we talk to artists, a lot of times it's like these little things they're doing that kind of no one else is doing, you know, because you're just kind of in your little like, oh, I see that you should show in these galleries and you should take these steps. But, you know, the older I get, the more I think like, oh, there is money to be made still creating what I want to create. If I can think of how to kind of broaden what is allowed or what is possible as an artist.
Yeah, to expand.
Yeah, but that's great. I mean, yeah, I'm still have no idea what that answer is for me.
But there are so many things to try. Like for instance, when I'm thinking about John, is thinking
this is
about
John Wentz.
John Wentz. Sorry,
I keep saying his name. I don't know if anyone
the
knows.
talented John Wentz. He's thinking about many things. They're like, because being in Paris is thinking outside of the box. And good for him. Like
we say outside the bun in America.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
To add a Taco Bell bell to my soundboard every time that comes out.
So yeah. At some point when when you really allow yourself to be creative with your work, you just go outside the box that everybody made for you or that you made for yourself. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, are you guys able to like bounce stuff off each other? I mean, I have an artist wife, so we're always like, pointing things out or critiquing each other or yelling at each other about art stuff.
We have a lot of art talks for sure, and we really share our point of views on stuff like exactly that. For example, like what art is becoming, where is it supposed to be shown and not shown, and what is social media, and like all those talks, and that is pretty awesome. And what is really nice also between John and I is that we have such different style of painting. Like there's nothing in common in when we are doing, and. I feel like I have so much to learn from him that I haven't took the advantage of yet. But yeah, so we are not. We are more supportive than criticizing the work on the other one. I think because I don't know how to express that. Well, he's been a teacher, right? So sometimes I kind of expect that he's gonna tell me, hey, this is supposed to be like this and this is supposed to be like that, and that will make me grow in my practice, But I know that he really chose his words and he really tried to not trespass some limits in order to let me free in what I'm doing. Allowing that he's doing something really different. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's the opposite of what I do with my wife.
Interesting.
She's always like, he yelled at me about my art. I'm like, not really yelled, but there's been but there's been times where she has to turn in a painting the next day and she painted something like, you have to redo that part. And she's like, what? And then she'll redo it and be happy, but it's like she was kind of just tried to I get frustrated because I'm like, you're better than what you're trying to do, right? Like you're trying to like take a shortcut,
right?
And for me, I'm like, come on, you shouldn't do that. You should you need to do it right. Yeah. Like you know how to do it right. You need to do it right, and you can't turn that in. Like I wouldn't. If that was me, I would be very mad about what I just did. And so I try to I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Maybe I have to go the John Wentz way more. It's probably a better route to go.
But I guess this is your own way to support her. And at the end of the day, she knows it. All you want is her to be better at what she does and her too anyway. So what is a little different with John is that I would say that neither of us will go straight away to the work of the other saying, hey, you have to do that again. Right. That's more like if I have a question, he's going to come to me and say something and vice versa. Well, not so much, actually. He doesn't ask my advice like that much. But it's fine. And to be honest, if one day he comes to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? Especially in this portrait series that he does. I will have a hard time to say anything. Like I think I will probably say something about colors, but his brush strokes are so personal and recognizable that will be way too subjective as critic, you know, and not really constructive, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, on a side note, I only do that if my wife asks me. She goes like, "What do you think of this?" And I'm like, "You have to redo that." But we are such in a habit of when she comes home from work. If I'm working, I go like, "What do you think?" And you know, she'll tell me what she thinks, and then vice versa. If she's working on a piece, she'll say, "What do you think?" And we have that like habit. It's so ingrained in us now that...
So it's a thing that she expects you to have a critique about it. It's not like she's asking for just a pat on the back or anything like that, right?
No. And I mean, if I like it, I like it. I'm not going to... Most of the time, I'll be like, "Oh, that looks awesome." But when it's something that I'm like, "Oh, that's not good,"
right?
Then I'll let her know. But yeah, I mean...
I think that's super important, and especially between friends and also in a relationship to have this honesty, you know, because they are the closest, you know, and they need to be the most honest. This is the most harmful as well, of course, on the emotional path. It's like, oh no. But yeah, it's important to be open to this kind of discussions and criticism, that's for sure.
That's awesome. So you're kind of like, I mean, John paints you a good amount.
Apparently, yeah. That's what people tell me.
So, I mean, the word muse can be used, right?
So I don't know. I don't use it. But...
Me never being a muse and potentially never ever being a muse. Does that feel normal? Is that just a...
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's so funny you say that, because I think that was just 2 days ago that my friend told me, "Oh, so that you're the muse now." And I'm like, "I'm what?" I don't know. I don't see things like that. Maybe like I'm a very romantic person, definitely, but like on the broad way to say romantic. No, you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm using it just like, you know, this beautiful word and beautiful idea.
Right.
But I don't consider myself to be his muse, even if I think when they said it. But what it feels, I don't know. I feel that it feels just work. To be honest, like I'm just his model to work on more than, "Oh, I'm painting my girlfriend." You know, like,
right.
It's not like so sometimes I will be like, "Wow, that's nice," but it's not like a habit took place. But I know that this is about work, you know, and the other models actually that he's using for his show that you're gonna see next week, that's friends of mine, you know, like cool. So it's there is. This is not that there is no emotion linked to it, but it's when it's about work, it's just about work.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I'm still happy that he's painting me, of course. Duh.
That's cool. That's awesome.
You never paint MJ?
No.
What?
No, I have trouble painting people I know in general.
Oh, yeah. That's tough, right? Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even, like we talked about a little bit earlier about how I like to detach myself from my work a bit and to kind of shield my whatever. And painting people I know, it's like a weird thing where I'm more critical of what I'm doing, you know, and it just becomes too tough. I'm not allowed to have kind of stylistic freedom because I want to capture them so much because I know them. So if I don't know you that well, or, you know, then I get to pull away and say like, "Oh, I can do this without having to, you know, feel like I didn't capture you." I don't know. So maybe it's a weird part of my brain I need to stop, but I haven't stopped yet.
No, I think that's totally understandable.
You know? That's interesting. I had the opposite effect happen to me when I painted my friend Carol for a show that I did at the Fault Line. It made me want to do a better job, almost it got me into this way of thinking about the painting that was more emotional than I normally put into my work. So in that way, it was expressing like a different part of my art that I don't normally let myself do. So
right. Well, that's just because you're a robot. So sometimes you have to feel, Sergio.
What is feel?
I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah. So just like I felt something for once. Like
single tear. down my metal face.
And I was wondering actually about the discussion we just had, like regarding pricing work and stuff. What about your different type of pricing? Because for what I remember that I've seen in galleries, your works are roughly the same sizes. So do you do like smaller sizes sometimes to price less? Or?
Josh and I talked about
answers. I'd like to say this answer is going to take 5 seconds. Go on.
Okay.
How much time do we have? I got time to fill. We talked about this once. Josh and I were talking about pricing, and I normally keep it simple for myself where I price by size. And there are some times where I will adjust the price depending on, it's like what you were saying, how you can tell one painting is just better than another. It just is what it is. So you do end up putting a little bit of a premium on it, but I tend to not want to raise that too much, because what I've found is that it's hard for me to predict how people are actually going to feel about my work once I put it up on the walls in the gallery. So I could say that, I like this painting a lot more than the others. And a lot of times, that does end up coinciding with how other people feel about it. But there have been times where I'm like, this one, I should definitely price higher because I think it will, that will be the one that people respond to. And it usually is the opposite of that. I think that sometimes there are these paintings that are just like, those are kind of like, even the ones that are, they came out easy. So therefore there's like, okay, well, I didn't put that much emotional investment into it. So I'm just going to price it how I normally price. And those will sometimes be the ones that sell quicker than others. And it's just hard for me to predict that. So having some sort of system where it's just price by size, it's a formula, easy enough for me. I don't have to think about it as much as I would for if I had to kind of go by emotion for everything. I could, and then I could just adjust as I needed. So,
yeah.
Sorry about that, Sergio. It took way longer than 5 seconds.
Yeah, that makes totally sense.
I just filled my quota for the episode.
No, we never know what the audience, and one day is gonna be this person who's gonna resonate so much with the painting. There's something's gonna happen when you completely forgot about that painting made 5 years ago. Oh
yeah.
And it just has to be at least sustainable with prices, because the person also how awkward it will be. I don't know how you deal with this, Josh, but if so you have in a gallery there's two same size panels and then the two different price, because one is more emotional and more work and the other one, how would the person feel if they want to buy the ones that you are less emotional attached and less work? They will be like, I just bought Josh a lawyer painting. Well, he didn't like it too much. That was kind of a cheaper one, but I like it, so whatever.
Well, hopefully they're happy that they got a discount.
Emotional discount.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. For me, art is such a selfish act, right? I am really doing this for myself,
right?
And I try not to think about the audience almost ever as far as pricing or what to paint or anything like that. So I've never actually thought about that, which is probably not great, but whatever. I mean, yeah.
I think this is more like a business than an artist thought. This is more like a practical thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because it is very healthy to not think about your audience when you're painting, right? This is what it should be.
And I've had people come up to me during a show and say, why is that painting, the smallest painting, the same price as the biggest painting? And I've told them that's because I like the painting and I hate that painting. And they're like, oh,
right.
Okay. And they've told me, I've talked to that person again, and they've told me that piece specifically, that was the small one, they wanted to buy, but they didn't want to pay the same price. The painting sold, but that they didn't, and they regret never buying that painting. And it's like, well, you know, you had to pay what I think it's worth, and you still talk about it like years later and regretting buying it. So like, you let the cost get in the way of owning the piece. So that's not, to me, like you understand that piece was worth something. You just got blinded by the cost of a painting that's not even associated with, you know, like it's its own entity.
Yeah.
And you should judge it as so. Yeah. You know, it's like I don't know. In music terms, it's like I made a hit, you know, that's, and you want it to be the same price as some deep cut no one listens to. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a business savvy person in general. So like, I just am going off of emotion when it comes to art and what I think I should charge for my artwork. But I don't know. Maybe I'm doing a horrible job. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anyone.
I don't think really there's rights and wrongs. You know, once again, as soon that we are still transparent with the people we're working with, whether that's our private collectors or galleries and stuff, like if we have like a sustainable way to work and we're not changing our methods from one day to another constantly, then I think we're good to go. You know, and once again, everybody will do what they want, because this is, you know,
and I think that's what, you know, like how you did the mugs. I think that's one of the things where it feels almost like good in a way as an artist if you create something like that, because you get to go, all these mugs, $20, and you know, or whatever.
That was exactly the price, actually.
You know, and you go like, that's it, and you don't have to. You set a price, and you go, all of them are the same price, and so much like relief compared to as a artist and having to every single original piece have to really put some thought and effort into how do I price this, and usually I'll ask my wife as well, like, what do you think about this price? Like, I'm thinking this much. Do you think that's too little, too much? To kind of get her feedback, just so I can get some feedback, because it's, you know, we're kind of like in our little world figuring this all out kind of on our own in a weird way. I mean, we have like friends and stuff like that, and most of my friends tell me that I'm underpricing things, so I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, same here, Sergio. Like
that we all feel are underpricing.
Yeah.
No, Sergio usually. That's too much.
If I was selling more, then maybe I would feel that way.
But most of the people around me also like, you're underpriced your work. I'm like, I don't know, it's difficult. And also what was difficult for me is to readapt, because generally the prices of art in France are higher than in the US. So that doesn't make any sense if I price lower in the US one painting for, like, you know, so I had to adjust really to be fair on every continent, I will say. Crazy. Yeah, it is a little crazy. And I even changed on my website now, everything is in euros, because when I was putting in dollars, then the ratio changed because of the course of the, you know, thing, like it's complicated. So yeah, but you know that I so feel you with this kind of struggle of pricing, and to be honest, it's probably like Sergio, probably I feel so much better now that I have those prices per size, you know, because I know my investment anyway that I put in each painting. So that's going to be the same amount of work on each painting. You know, that's going to be a fair, like, equilibrium, I would say, in each one of them. So then my prices, the only variations that I apply to them is per years, because I'm getting better and better at what I'm doing. So I put 10% more each year.
That's interesting.
So I keep the same prices, 10% more. So that means also for my collectors who want commissions, for example, like, oh, okay, so I'm going to commission this year and not next year, because like that I'm having 10% off, you know, in a way.
Yeah, how does that work? If they commission you on December 30th, does it set the price then?
Okay, let me think. No, but you know what I mean. It's
that's
for me, like that was a big hustle. You know, like this thing, this pricing thing. Oh my God, that was such a struggle. And since I'm applying this method, I'm not even thinking about it anymore.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't have to think about it. I'm just painting and doing my thing.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I should think about that with maybe like a bonus price for a little like if it's like
this is an emotional joker on this one. So take it or leave it.
Yeah, it's like back in when we were kids, you used to collect like cards, like baseball cards or whatever. And if they were shiny, they were more expensive.
Right.
So.
Just add some gold foil to your painting.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and there is another thing that I've done too, is that's very simple, but the ones that I don't feel like to put a price on because I'm so attached to them, that I love them so much, I just keep them. I don't put them on sale at all. I just keep them until the day that I feel it's okay to get rid of it.
Yeah, I've heard people say kind of that thing. Yeah. It's like, oh, I kind of want to hold on to this one a little bit longer. And you're like, oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Because usually I'm painting for a show specifically.
Oh, yeah.
So then it's like, well, I can't pull this one out.
So I'm going to do this little sketch.
Yeah.
Here, this is for you. I'm keeping the best for me.
Yeah. Maybe I should just start making prints and then painting over it, the exact painting. Or turning that in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to fraud people. Commit fraud in the art world. Yeah, that's great. So, Sergio, there is one question I have.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Right into
something?
Yeah, we have our last questions of our podcast, but there's a question I thought of recently that you don't have to answer, but you're going to be our test subject. And it is there any artist that you absolutely cannot stand?
As a
living or dead,
art or as a personality,
anything.
As far as they're creating or their personality,
and anything, and it could be living or dead. You don't have to take shots at someone.
Oh, so the advantage of the dead one is that I'm just gonna beat on a dead horse, and then the,
well, have you ever beaten
the
on a dead
live
horse?
one, they can beat me up just in case. You know what? That's a very good question. I don't know.
No.
I have no idea.
There
are definitely artists that art, okay, that I will never put into my place. You know, hang on my wall, and I can quote Picasso or Van Gogh.
Really?
Shots fired.
Oh yeah, I know. No, because I visually this is not what attracts me, but the artist behind it, yes, and the body of work, yes. It's just you take one piece of that, put that into my flat. It's just no.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, so I know that I'm gonna pass for a jerk saying that, and I don't care. I so don't care. No, I'm really admirative of those artists, believe me. But visually, it's just not the things that I can really relate. Maybe it's gonna change, you know, like. And that's funny. With John, we went to the Basquiat exhibition in Paris, the biggest I think like ever made. Like most of his work was there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that was really impressive. And of course, I mean, no, not of course, but Basquiat is not my cup of tea too much. You know, although like again,
like Earl Grey or.
Like
what are we talking
yeah, like kind of ginger or something. No, what I mean is that just regarding colors and shapes and stuff, it's not the things that I resonate the most with, but I have to admit that it's fascinating. It's freaking beautiful, you know, to see all this together, this body of work, like.
Right.
Body of life, I would say. I don't know, like
for sure.
It is amazing. So it's difficult for me to say, you know, like there are some art sometimes visually that doesn't do it for you, but you respect the work that has been made, you respect the person behind it, you respect the whole body of work for a whole career, like, you know. And so that goes for the art. Now for the artist, okay. You ready? No, just kidding. No, I don't know. I don't know. Like I have no idea.
Yeah, the reason I bring it up is just because I feel like every other podcast I talk shit about Pollock. So so I was like, it'd be interesting to hear what other people hate. So you're the first person to answer this question, but I'll force everyone to answer it. I actually enjoyed your answer a lot. So.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, and then Sergio has 2 other questions.
So other questions, he's not that interested. So yeah, it started off being who are your top 5 artists, dead or alive, and then we started hearing the same names over and over again. So we started to ask who are your top 5 living artists, and for me, I'm curious who your top 5 dead or alive French artists are.
Wait, so is the question alive or
dead or alive?
Living or dead? Yeah.
Oh. I don't know if I'm going to be good at answering to this question.
Or should we just do
or if not, then if you don't want to big up your country.
I could say Louise Bourgeois.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Soulage.
Don't know that one.
Yeah, so this one, he's very, very famous. He's in abstract, and he got very famous with his huge panel with like black panels, like just monochrome black. And what he does is just the way that the brush stroke goes, creates the lights and creates the panels. And that can be just stripes, like whether horizontal or sometimes just like movement and stuff. But his whole intention behind it is fascinating. Is that basically this is your eye that makes a painting.
Yeah.
Because technically it's just black, right? But depending of where you at in the front of it, it just makes the thing alive. And your perception is making it. So it's pretty badass. But yeah, there are maybe more, but just like that, no. These 2 already.
How about we do the top 5 alive?
Yeah.
The whole world.
Yeah.
Do you have a top 5?
Well, I have to mention my very first when I was a kid. I will quote 2 very simple, very obvious: Dali and Mucha.
Nice.
Okay. Art Nouveau is a big, big part of my life. And so Mucha, and I would say Guimard as well, the sculptor. The Paris Metro with this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So all this, like basically artists of the Art Nouveau scene back then, I'm just completely in love with. These guys, and after I will maybe quote, that's funny, actually. I'm going to go back to your question, Josh. Somebody that I like humanly I abhor, like I don't like, but I'm really in love with his painting, and I think when I started painting he's been a big influence to me, and that's Michael Hursar.
Oh, really?
Names
from LA.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I guess you don't want to talk shit. I am curious.
No, because I don't know him personally. It's just gossips and stuff, so I don't want to enter into this. But visually, I really, really like his work. Well, his oldest works, I would say, like like his latest things. I'm not too much into it, and it's not like that he's pushing it too much, but he's been definitely a big inspiration for me, and from the lowbrow scene in general, with Craig Crowler. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Crowler, like who's
Greg Simpkins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And sorry.
I thought Crowler was his last name. I was like, I don't know that guy.
And also in the dark arts, there is David Stupakis, of course, and those guys. I was pretty much into them when I started to paint, and but of course they don't. We're not talking about the same scenes at all.
Sure, no,
kind of diverge.
Everyone has their like. There's a lot of people who, sometimes they surprise you who their influences are when looking at their work, and you're like, oh, you like that person too? Wow.
Yeah, but that's so wide. It's difficult, like to not dive into these questions
Right.
prior to the podcast, because just that's what pops in my head. But there are so many from so many different styles, and not only in the painting domain, because I'm a dancer. There are a lot of dancers, choreographers that I admire that inspire my painting. You know, same for sculpture, same for like so many things, music, of course, and you know.
Do you know Nadezhda? Do you know that artist? We had her on the podcast, and she named anything but painters for her top 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't listened to that one. Oh, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, there was no painters at all.
Yeah.
But did she have a dancer? I think she had one dancer.
Yeah, she did. I forget the name, but
I don't know. I'm so bad at names. But yeah, and then you have.
Our David Cho money question. If you had $200 million to do something amazing or some with your art or otherwise, what would you do?
How much?
200 million. Or more at that point.
That's numbers. So numbers are important.
Oh, if it was 300 million.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's tricky.
Damn, and I have to just like jump into the answer right now, right? Like it's like spontaneous.
I mean, the whole idea is there anything you wanted to do artistically, but money has kind of held you back, you know, from being able to accomplish it?
Right.
Either buy time, which is impossible, you know, buying time.
Unless maybe you have 200 million and you realize like, oh, you can buy time.
I don't know. I think that's going to sound a little weird, but I think I will do something with children. I'm not very children related or like really, I don't know. Like I don't work with them. I'm not close to any children in my life and stuff. But for what I'm seeing with our planet and where the world is leading, I will put money and effort with them, because our elders, the ones who are messing around, they're going to be gone. So I will say, I'm going to be like vulgar, but I'm going to say, fuck them. You know, this is not the world of tomorrow. So if we want to build something substantial and beautiful, that's to plant the seeds with them first. So I will do something artistically and, I like to use all this for their education.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Excellent.
That's a good answer. Way better than mine, probably.
What was yours?
Do a bunch of murals.
Build a zoo for children.
Not build a zoo.
That's a good one.
Awesome. Well, I think this has been the podcast. I definitely want to do a quick thanks to Irene from Wonderland SF.
Yes.
She let us use her house. We're recording in her house right now.
We are surrounded by art on the walls. This is amazing.
Yeah, I know.
From the artists from the Bay Area. And, it's
she
awesome.
has an amazing art collection. So, big thanks to her. Thank you for doing this. You are here. I wanted to promote John's thing because the reason you're here is because John Wentz is having a show.
Because I'm a badass girlfriend and I'm supporting my man. Yeah.
So, if you're in the Bay Area, definitely go to Hashimoto. You both will be there, and we'll be there.
Yep.
Next Saturday. So.
Yeah, on the 2nd, and the show is lasting 1 month, I guess.
I believe so. Yeah.
So come have a beer with us and talk art. Is there anything else? Do you have anything coming up?
On my side, no. Besides just working more on my paintings.
Yeah. And they can check out your Instagram. We'll shout out your Instagram, but what is it?
Yes, I have 2 Instagrams then. I mean, 3 with my tarot practice now. A lot of work, damn. But yeah, the Instagram, the regular one, I will say is Delphyne V for all the paintings. For the Funny Bones, but that's Funny Bones Paris. Yeah. And and that's Rising Utopia for the tarot.
Yeah. And you have the links on your main Instagram. On the top,
exactly. Everything is easy to find.
Yeah, in case they want to see, your other worlds you have. But thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Really honored, and that was fun. I liked it.
That was awesome.
When do we do that again?
I know. Next time you're in America.
Yeah, in 1 year, maybe.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for doing this again. This is Wade and Dry. If you're still listening, fuck off. Or how do you say that in French?
allez vous faire foutre.
Yeah. Pardon her
Do
French.
that. Yeah. Pardon her French.